What would have happened if Lord Drakkon had appeared in the TV series in 1993 instead of Tommy joining the mighty Morphin? Let's imagine that the Power Rangers are not created with the Sentai scenes, so this way they could create original stories, and one of those stories would be with Lord Drakkon. Would this have been possible in a series for children? In order to create this story with Lord Drakkon, then they would have had to change the character, since we know that Drakkon's story is too violent for a children's audience. With that said, we must now imagine a series featuring Lord Drakkon and the target audience being adults. This could be one of the best Power Rangers stories, since seeing all that in the comics was spectacular, but seeing it in a series with real actors would be much better. Basically, this is the same idea they want to look for with the reboot, to give us shocking stories that are suitable for young adults. According to the information on the internet, for now, it is believed that the reboot is going to be for young people over 14 years old, and this makes it quite clear that the style is going to be quite dark. Just so you understand a little better, the 2017 movie was PG-13, and even so, it was a pretty dark story in which we could see the death of several Rangers. For those who don't remember that movie, in the beginning we could see that Zordon's team had died, and then later on we also saw Billy die. In addition to that violence, the image style was quite dark, and we must say that all this was the best thing about this movie. Possibly, this 2017 movie didn't work very well as a Power Rangers movie due to the fact that they failed to capture the essence of the franchise, but it does work very well as a fantasy and superhero movie. The story is well formed, the style is excellent, the special effects were impeccable, and the performances were quite good. If these positive things are used in the reboot, then we can only hope that they will create stories as incredible as Lord Drakkon, a villain who basically managed to gain great power and almost no one could defeat him. This villain had several transformations, little by little he evolved, and even in the current comics he continues to change constantly. The reality is that Power Rangers has the nature of being dark, violent, and dramatic, but because it is aimed at a child audience, they have had to hide all those things. When Lord Zed first came to the series, he was such a dark villain that parents of children began to complain as he was too scary, and the franchise had to modify him. This is why Lord Zed started to be a bit silly. Then they teamed him up with Rita to make him softer, and in Cosmic Fury we could see that the character is still like that. Imagine if Lord Zed had made it into a Power Rangers series aimed at a young adult audience where the creators have all the freedom to show a scary monster without the viewers starting to complain. Lord Zed could have been the most incredible character of all, as his physical design provokes fear, evil, and leadership. So, the question we must ask ourselves is, was the problem with the franchise the villains? Unfortunately, for all children's shows the villains must be funny, silly, and easy to defeat. We have seen this with many amazing villains throughout the history of children's shows or even children's video games. Many children's shows are excellent in that category and should not become adult shows, but Power Rangers is not in that group. The reality is that Power Rangers should have been turned into an adult series a long time ago, since it worked very well as a children's show in 1993, but that stopped working a long time ago. There are plenty of children's shows that have action, drama, and fantasy that don't have the potential to become an adult series or are actually better at being children's shows. However, Power Rangers has always had the potential to become an adult series, and possibly this is because they use real people. We recently got to see Sonic movies where they used real people, and it wasn't all in animation. Despite this, the movies had the same style that the children's series had, and it really wouldn't have looked good if these new movies transformed them into something more serious. However, in the 2017 Power Rangers movie we could realize that the franchise can work if they turn it into a series for adults, since what made that movie fail was not having transformed it into a production for young adults. In fact, we could even say that the best thing about that movie was that we were able to see a more serious and much darker story. This gave a total twist to the Power Rangers, since it was the first time we saw our heroes in very dark moments and in really serious problems. The Rita Repulsa in this movie was very good as a villain, even though she was ridiculed a bit at times, and this is proof that what is needed is to have some really scary villains. Imagine having a series in which we are introduced to Lord Drakkon destroying several Rangers and crossing the multiverse, time, and dimensions. This would be something spectacular, and we would possibly have one of the best fantasy series ever. What they can't erase is the essence of the franchise, and this includes the provenance of the power, the Zords, the costumes, the weapons, the mentors, and the transformations. With all that essence, a good dark story and a great scary villain, Power Rangers can become great competition for other fantasy franchises. Recently, in the comics, we got to see the return of Dark Spectre, a villain we got to see a long time ago in the In Space season and was not given the importance he deserves. We don't know if this was to avoid making the same mistake they made with Lord Zedd, since Dark Spectre looks like a very scary monster, but because the comics are created for young adults, they have given him all the right importance. This monster is a great infection and has such awesome power that all the villains are afraid of him. Even in Cosmic Fury we could hear Lord Zedd mention it, and he did it in a way that seemed like he wanted Dark Spectre to be proud of him for all the power he managed to gain. If Dark Spectre were to appear in the reboot, then we would have a very powerful villain, but they need to give him the same power he has in the comics to make him truly scary. Having said all that, they must now imagine a multi-season, multi-film series where it's all connected, with villains as awesome as Dark Spectre, Lord Drakkon, and Lord Zedd. Imagine all those villains together trying to destroy the Power Rangers, taking over the Morphin grid, and trying to enslave humans. If you have seen the comics, you can understand how awesome it would be to see a series with real people in which we see all those villains. That would be an awesome war, and they would have a lot of material to create many seasons for several years. Write in the comments the villain you would like to see in the reboot, like this video and subscribe for more Power Rangers darkness.